The next step is a constitutional right to health. Presently, any investment in health care has failed to translate into a sense of security and sanctuary for many Indians. The 10th of December 2021. The brevity of human memory is often a blessing and even necessary for our collective healing from suffering. But the lessons we learn from suffering are possibly even more crucial. As our people continue to face individual and collective grief as a result of the novel coronavirus pandemic, it is the moral responsibility of our leaders to look ahead and learn the necessary lessons. A place for this right. The lesson here is the need for the constitutional right to health for all. The pandemic has exposed and aggravated the cracks in our health care systems, and this is a lesson we cannot afford to ignore and not learn. In June this year, I called on the Parliament of India to take immediate measures to make necessary amendments to the Constitution to declare health care a fundamental right. I was reassured with positive responses from parliamentarians across party lines who have supported this call. Now, the time has come to make this a reality for India so our people never have to undergo the suffering that they did. Through the eyes of citizens. The primary question raised is, what will a constitutional right to health mean for a citizen of India? I will try and explain this through the lens of three categories of citizens: farmers and unorganized workers, women and children. Farmers are the primary protectors of our fundamental right to life. Yet, the majority remain at a loose end when it comes to their own rights and well-being, and that of their families. Without an anchor during times of severe illness or disease, generations of children of small and landless farmers, and unorganized, migrant and seasonal workers are thrown into bondage and debt by having to pay for medical costs from their limited earnings. Employment benefit schemes do not reach them, and the ones that do are mostly on paper. The implementation of the right to health can provide simple, transparent and quality health care to those who are most in need of such care. Women bear a disproportionate burden of the gaps in our health care system. The taboos and patriarchal expectations surrounding their health lead to immense avoidable suffering. In addition, social and economic challenges prevent them from freely and openly accessing the little care that is available. A right to health would mean that services reach the woman where and when she needs them. A large number of children who belong to the poorest and most marginalized communities of our country grow up working in hazardous situations, be it fields, mines, brick kilns or factories. They are either not enrolled in schools or are not able to attend it due to the pressing financial needs of the family, often because of unexpected out-of-pocket medical expenses. Making it safer for children. My organization has rescued over 1,000 such children from child labor, bonded labor, and trafficking. When rescued, these children are ridden with complex health impacts of working, primarily tuberculosis, skin diseases, eyesight impairment, and malnutrition, besides the substantial mental health impact. These children have been denied a safety net of early childhood care and protection, the consequences of which are felt for a lifetime. The right to health will help transition the children in exploitative conditions into a safer future. A constitutional right to health will transform not only the health and well-being of our people but will act as a leap for the economic and developmental progress of the nation. Presently, any investment in health care fails to translate into a sense of security and sanctuary for the people of India. Instead, the complex and often corrupt means of accessing even existing health care only adds to the suffering instead of alleviating it. The vision for Ayushman Bharat will be strengthened with a constitutional right to health. The immediate financial security that will come with the constitutional right to health will be seen as a measurable impact on family savings, greater investment, and jobs creation on the one hand, and in the long-term emotional, psychological and social security of people. As a legacy, the world is taking steps, both big and small, in recovering from the pandemic through foresight in policy and investment. India must not lag behind. The right to free and compulsory education was arguably one of the most valuable legacies of the earlier government. The true testament of bold leadership lies in its timely, compassionate and courageous decisions for the greater good. A constitutional amendment to introduce the right to health for India can be the legacy of this government. Kailash Satyarthi, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2014, is an advocate of children's rights. He is also the founder of the Global Campaign for Education and the Laureates and Leaders for Children.
As the nationwide free COVID-19 vaccination campaign at government facilities for those above 18 years is underway, we advise our young listeners to get vaccinated and also help others get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaj ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact the national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in the G20 Extraordinary Leaders Summit on Afghanistan in virtual format this evening. The summit has been convened by Italy, the current chair of the G20, that comprises 20 of the world's major economies. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has called for waiver of intellectual property rights and dismantling new trade barriers in the global fight against COVID-19 pandemic. He was addressing the G20 Trade and Investment Ministerial meeting in Italy today. Mr. Goyal also called for actively resolving new trade barriers like vaccine differentiations or COVID passports, which impose mobility restrictions and impede the movement of personnel needed for delivering critical services. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said India is going ahead with policy of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas and Sabka Prayas to ensure human rights for all. He said the government is moving with the goal of ensuring that everyone gets the benefit of welfare schemes. Mr. Modi was virtually addressing the 28th National Human Rights Commission Foundation Day program in New Delhi today.
आज देश सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास और सबका प्रयास के मूल मंत्र पर चल रहा है। ये एक तरह से मानव अधिकार को सुनिश्चित करने की ही मूल भावना है। अगर सरकार कोई योजना शुरू करे और उसका लाभ कुछ को मिले, कुछ को ना मिले, तो अधिकार का विषय खड़ा होगा ही। और इसलिए हम हर योजना का लाभ सभी तक पहुंचे, इस लक्ष्य को लेकर चल रहे हैं। जब भेदभाव नहीं होता, जब पक्षपात नहीं होता, पारदर्शिता के साथ काम होता है, तो सामान्य मानवीय के अधिकार भी सुनिश्चित होते हैं।
The Prime Minister said India's freedom movement and its history has been a great source of inspiration for human rights for the country.
भारत के लिए मानव अधिकारों की प्रेरणा का, मानव अधिकार के मूल्यों का बहुत बड़ा स्रोत आजादी के लिए हमारा आंदोलन, हमारा इतिहास है। हमने सदियों तक अपने अधिकारों के लिए संघर्ष किया। एक राष्ट्र के रूप में, एक समाज के रूप में अन्याय अत्याचार का प्रतिरोध किया। एक ऐसे समय में जब पूरी दुनिया विश्व युद्ध की हिंसा में झुलस रही थी, भारत ने पूरे विश्व को अधिकार और अहिंसा का मार्ग सुझाया। हमारे पूज्य बापू को देश ही नहीं बल्कि पूरा विश्व मानव अधिकारों, मानवीय मूल्यों के प्रतीक के रूप में देखता है।
On ensuring rights of women, the Prime Minister said India has ensured 26 weeks of paid maternity leave for career women, a feat that even many developed nations could not achieve. Mr. Modi said for decades Muslim women had been demanding a law against triple talaq, and the government has given new rights to Muslim women by enacting a law against triple talaq. The Prime Minister also cautioned against the selective interpretation of human rights and its use to diminish the image of the country. Mr. Narendra Modi said the biggest infringement of human rights takes place when they are seen from the prism of politics and political profit and loss. The Prime Minister said this selective behavior is equally damaging for democracy too. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
स्वाधीनता संग्राम के वे निशान जो साक्षी हैं हमारे सेनानियों के संघर्ष और बलिदान के। आकाशवाणी समाचार ला रहा है विशेष श्रृंखला निशान। हर बुधवार को शाम 4:45 पर कार्यक्रम परिक्रमा में FM गोल्ड 100.1 मेगाहर्ट्ज पर।
The Centre has asked states to utilize unallocated power of the central generating stations only to meet the power requirement of their own consumers. It has been brought to the notice of the Power Ministry that some states are not supplying power to their consumers and imposing load shedding. At the same time, they are also selling power in the power exchange at high price. The Ministry of Power in a statement said that as per the guidelines for allocation of power, 15% power from the central generating stations are kept under unallocated power, which is allocated by the central government to the needy states to meet the requirement of power of consumers. It said the responsibility to supply power to the consumers is of the distribution companies, and they should first serve their consumers who have the right to receive 24/7 power. The country is inching closer towards achievement of 100 crore COVID vaccination target. More than 95 crore 89 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. Talking to AIR News, Dr. Arvind Kumar of Medanta Hospital has appealed to people to come forward to get vaccinated.
वैक्सीनेशन लगवाना एक पर्सनल काम नहीं है, मेरे हिसाब से ये एक राष्ट्रीय ड्यूटी है, क्योंकि हर व्यक्ति अगर इसको एक राष्ट्रीय ड्यूटी समझ करके करेगा और लगवाएगा और सारे 130 करोड़ लोग वैक्सीनेट हो जाएंगे, तभी हमारा देश कलेक्टिवली अपने को सेफ महसूस कराएगा। जैसा कि कहा जाता है, नो वन इज सेफ अनलेस एवरीवन इज सेफ। जब तक सभी लोगों को वैक्सीन नहीं लग जाएगी, तब तक हम में से कोई भी सेफ महसूस नहीं कर सकता। और लगवा के लोगों को बताना और उनको एनकरेज करना, ये अपने आप में बहुत ही एक महत्वपूर्ण कार्रवाई है।
All India Radio News also spoke to a person from Hyderabad who got fully vaccinated recently.
My name is Ernest. I'm from Hyderabad. I'm 60 plus and I teach in the Ayushman Bharat. I took my first dose of vaccine in the month of June and I completed my second dose very recently, that is on the 10th of September. I would have taken it earlier, but I went through the valley of COVID. I had viral fever with symptoms of lack of smell and taste. So with the prescribed medication and protocols, I was able to get over it, and with a gap of 1.5 months, I went for my first dose of vaccination. I must say that above everything else, the vaccination has bolstered my image, my self-confidence, and I'm back at work in full throttle.
India reported over 14,000 new cases during the last 24 hours, which is the lowest in 224 days. The Health Ministry said the recovery rate is currently at 98.04%, the highest since March last year. The Civil Aviation Ministry has decided to restore the scheduled domestic air operations from the 18th of this month without any capacity restriction. The decision was taken after the review of the current status of scheduled domestic operators and passengers' demand for air travel. In Jammu and Kashmir, 5 terrorists were neutralized by security forces in 2 separate encounters in Shopia district today. The Delhi police has arrested a terrorist from Lakshminagar area of the national capital and foiled a major terror plan in the city. Briefing reporters in New Delhi today, Pramod Kushwaha, Deputy Commissioner of Police Special Cell, said the terrorist is a Pakistani national who was staying on a fake identity on forged documents. Former IAS officer Amit Khare has been appointed as advisor to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Appointments Committee of the Cabinet has approved the appointment of Mr. Khare initially for a period of 2 years or until further orders. Chief Justice A.K. Goswami was today sworn in as the new Chief Justice of the Chhattisgarh High Court. He was earlier serving as the Chief Justice of Andhra Pradesh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed grief over the passing away of IFCO Chairman Sardar Balwinder Singh Nakai. In a tweet, the Prime Minister said Balwinder Singh was a doyen of agriculture and cooperative sector. He made pioneering contributions towards empowering farmers. At the stock markets, the Sensex of the Bombay Stock Exchange gained 149 points to end at 60,284 today. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange rose 46 points to 17,992. And with that, we end this news bulletin.